Okay, hi everybody. Now we're supposed to be working on the projector, everything is fine. We're supposed to have sounds and everything. So please, again, give a big hand to Microsoft.
There you go. Hi, guys. Did such a good show that they asked me to come again. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. We got the projector running, so we got that. Let me show you the couple of things I wanted to show you a moment ago. So, like I mentioned, let's go into this. We're just going to deep dive directly into what Azure actually means. Let me see that we actually get that. There we go. So this is what I started talking about. So you have data center infrastructure, which is basically the regions on top of it. And this is a slide that we tell all the customers when they're like, oh no, we understand the cloud. We understand how this works. This is what most of the people understand as the cloud. You have your data centers, then you have your virtual machines, and that you have storage, you have networking. These are basic PC components that you have on there. Where the cloud actually comes in is this thing over there. So that's the interesting part of the cloud. So what we have is basically all these services that you can just tap into that. So why is this interesting? Is because it actually allows you to go from zero to an actual functioning solution without having to do a lot of work. And this is the interesting part. I used to be a developer for most of my life, and this was like one of the most amazing things that ever happened to developers, that you basically can just go grab a service and start using it immediately. So we're going to talk about today specifically about that web and mobile side, but because this slide, I use this slide because it has layers, but because we update so oftenly, that slide has actually, oh shoot, that jumped a little bit too far. That slide actually changed into this slide, which basically has even more services. So all the time this slide is growing. So don't even try to remember what is in there. But there are some big areas that can help you basically get started. So when we go with something like media and CDN, if you want to do live streaming to media, this is what is your service. So for example, we streamed Sochi Olympics through this. Hi. So we have the integration services communicating between any kind of systems. We have compute services, which basically gives you you're able just to run your code inside of the compute instance. And the most interesting and the easiest one to use, application platforms and data. They both give you structured data in a form of an SQL and unstructured no SQL type data inside of the document DB, which is MongoDB in disguise. So you can use your MongoDB knowledge to code against document DB. And on the application platforms, you just simply deploy your code. And what does that actually mean? You can use any kind of solutions, any kind of technologies. If you see the technology that you're familiar with, they're all supported. So basically anything that's open source. Microsoft has been for a while just loving open source communities. So when you're building on PaaS, that makes it quicker, that makes it more scalable, and it will automatically be able to go global for you. If you're building on EOS, on the infrastructure servers, on virtual machines, that's fine. You will just have to maintain a lot of stuff yourself. If you're doing something like Internet of Things, there are connectors for that directly. So when you have this little chip, I did this for last year's Junction, I had this little chip that directly connects into the Azure cloud, and what we did, we stick a little sensor onto the device. It was streaming. It was a pressure sensor. So we put a picture of Justin Bieber onto that sensor, and then you take a ball, you throw the ball at Justin Bieber, and this message goes back to the Azure, and then it's read by a Spotify player on the other side. And what happens is it changes the music. If you throw the ball very softly, it plays Justin Bieber. If you play it hard, hit the ball hard, then it plays rock. So it kind of changes that very. So this was a very, very stupid demo, but they told me, make an IoT demo. I'll do this. Because it took 5 lines of code using Azure Internet of Things. You just push the data into the Event Hub, and that's it. You don't have to think about it. Now let me show you how that actually works very quickly. Let's have a couple of minutes left. Should be fine. We just need to get the screen there. Duplicate. So there we go. Awesomeness. So let's start with this. So Azure App Service is the key. You start with this. This is basically where you deploy your code. So if you the easiest way for you to get started is just go to Google, type in Azure App Service and whatever your technology is, Node.js, PHP, whatever you want it to be. So then you will be basically, you will get to a website that will describe how this works. Now, when you're starting with the app service, you have a couple of things. You have web apps, which is basically a web server, scalable depending on how you want to use it. You have mobile apps directly for the iOS, Android. You get notifications, you get Facebook authentications, Twitter authentications, all of that out of the box. Logic apps and API apps let you run that background scene. So if you need to connect between the systems, if you need to bring background logic, those are for you. But they all run the same code. For some you have front, for some you have notifications, and some are just back. So this is very easy. How do you get actually started with that? You go to your session has expired. Then you press the reload button, and you really pray to God that the network works. There we go, it's loading. So you go to your Azure portal and you press the plus button. And this is the most amazing thing ever, because I don't know all the services in Azure, and people have been coming to me and asking me, I want to run this, I want to run that. It's like, I don't know. I seriously do not know these things. But you press the plus button, and I think my most beautiful experience was with this guy asking me, oh, I want to run MediaWiki. We have an issue with a customer. We really want to run MediaWiki. We have been trying to debug that for several weeks now with servers and everything. Oh, sure. MediaWiki? Oh, there's MediaWiki there. All right, shoot. And then you do that. And then you see this. So you have MediaWiki as a compute. That's a virtual machine, pre-created and ready to go. So this is one option, but you have to maintain it. Then you have this, MediaWiki as a web plus mobile. This means it's going to deploy MediaWiki API or just the code into the app service. There is no virtual machine. There's nothing for you to maintain. If you get 2 users, it's using €0. If you're using 15, 10, 100 users, €0. But when you try to scale up, then it basically goes up per minute-based pricing. So it's very, very beautiful, very, very cheap. And to create these services, no matter what it might be, let's say WordPress, Django, any other service, you basically just tap on it, tap on a create, and it asks you for the app name, resource group, so it's going to bundle a few things together, and then press the create. It's very simple. This is, I don't know how many can of you read that. It says drunk with Trump. This is one of the things that we did for the US elections. We had a drinking game with Trump, but then he won and it wasn't really funny anymore. So that happened. So this is all that you have to do. So if I want to create my Junction WordPress website and I want to put it into Junction 2060 resource group, and I'm just going to provide it with MySQL in-app service right there, and just tap on create. And it right now goes and creates that. So in about a minute or two, I'm actually going to have this service right now running there. That's it. And it's very simple, so just explore these services over there. We give you Azure Pass for the whole thing, so you get $100 to use. Talk to us, message us on Slack, on the Microsoft channel. We will give you the pass, you enter it there. If you have any questions after that, you can actually visit us back then at Microsoft Flux location downtown Helsinki. So that's the place, you can just stop by there, and that's it. I'm out of time, way off time. But thank you all.
Thank you, Dennis. Next up, we have world's largest asset manager, BlackRock, coming over here. They are going to tell a little bit more about their company, about their API, and demo it. So please welcome Ina Selu and Maya Ladva from BlackRock.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, come on. You're not that tired. Hello, everybody.
Woo!
Nice. Right. I think Enna's just going to get the projector up and running. I think we'll do a little start off. Who's heard of BlackRock before?
Oh, yeah.
You get a rubber duck. Anyone else? I bet you everyone puts their hands up now. Pardon? Nice.
Cool.
Come speak to us
Did
afterwards.
you like our office? Okay, so hello everyone. Anna, Mayor, and we represent BlackRock at Junction. We're at the fintech track in the room next door. And today we want to talk to you about two things. A few things about BlackRock, who we are. Most of you haven't heard of us, so just tell you about who we are and why we have this with us. And to tell you a bit more about our challenge and the API behind it. So I'm Anna. I work at BlackRock as a product manager. So I look after our investment core tools. And Mayor here with me.
Hi, I'm Mayor. Everyone calls me Mayor because they find it difficult to pronounce my name. It's fine, I don't mind either. I work as a development lead of one of the Aladdin applications.
We also have Dilip. Hello, Dilip. And Erica. They're both software engineers in our Aladdin in our Aladdin platform team. So BlackRock, largest asset manager in the world. What we do is we manage money on behalf of our clients. So if you think about who our clients are, pension funds, you probably will all be thinking, what am I going to do when I retire? Am I going to have enough money to travel? Yes, no, I hope so. So you go to a pension fund and you give them £100 every month to invest in your pension fund, right? So they come to us to invest your money further and make more money for you when you retire, to get maybe £1,000 every month back when you retire. How much are we talking? How much do you think we have in assets to manage?
Close.
Fairly close. We have over $4.9 trillion in assets. So that's a big number, right? We can't really manage that with pen and paper. We do have lots of people, but lots of people are not enough to manage this amount of money. So we built our Aladdin platform, and our Aladdin platform is based on this technology. It's fairly Java-focused, but we have what you see on screen. You don't have to know all of the technologies to work on the Aladdin platform, but if you work with us, you'll be experiencing most of them on screen. So we built this platform for ourselves, but we saw that it was quite good and people were asking us about it, so we started selling our platform to other clients who were trying to solve the same problem as us. So what are we doing here today?
So you heard about the Aladdin platform. Just a heads up, Aladdin is actually an acronym. Can anyone guess what it stands for? It's Assets, Liabilities, and Debt and Derivatives Investment Network. So it's really catchy. Everyone remembers it at work. Everyone just goes around the hallways repeating it. As Anna said, we sell the platform to other businesses as well, and Aladdin by itself brings in around 500 million-ish in revenues each year. So it's a really big revenue generator for the firm. So at BlackRock, technology generates money, as well as the investment side of things. To answer the question, why are we here? So Anna told you about if you are a client of BlackRock, then you entrust us to invest your money for you. Say that you open up a portfolio, it's called, which is basically an investment account, with us, and you start it off with 100 million. And then you're so pleased with us because we've made you another 100 million on top of that, so now it's 200 million. Say that you want to add more money to it. How would you go about doing that? There's various methods, but the oldest and craziest is via fax, as this cat is demonstrating here with a very lovely printer. Now you're probably wondering, why fax? What the fax? The reason is because in a lot of countries, a signature is still legally binding. And what clients will do is they'll say, hey, BlackRock, I know I have an investment portfolio with you. I want to add money to it, or potentially take money out. I want to deposit money in. I'm going to print off this fax template. It's going to say an instruction to BlackRock. Please add 100 million or whatever it is into my portfolio. Here's my signature, and here's the signature of my chief financial officer or of someone else. And they'll physically put that into a machine, fax it over, and our systems will turn it into an image. What happens when it gets to BlackRock? Well, somebody in one of the teams that handles these faxes, they'll look at it and physically read it and be like, okay, your company, this amount of money, blah, 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 and they'll put it in, check the signatures aren't the same, make sure it's not fraudulent, hit go. What happens next? Another person in the same team does the exact same thing. It's called rekeying. They do the same thing. If both records match, then it goes into the system. And we're thinking to ourselves, hey, surely this could be done in a better way. So the API we've come and the challenge we've come up with is all around this facts issue, right? We basically will give you an API, and it's super simple. There's no commands, nothing. All you have to do is visit the URL, put in your app name at the end, so it makes a session for you, and it will basically, every time you hit the URL, give you a new fax. What you do with it is up to you. Nice example of one here. What you do with it is up to you. Do you use OCR to read it? Do you check the signatures? Can you check if they're fraudulent? If you look at the client names, they're actually famous people. So could you cross-reference that to IMDb and see the sentiment of different actors and actresses selling and buying assets? It's completely up to you what you do. Lots of ideas around it, but the point is it's super simple. If you did want to go and get really, really technical and you were very educated on the finance side, you can go to the main website, which is rockthehackathons.com, and you'll find another API there, which exposes our performance and holdings and risk analytics on all our portfolios. So you can also cross-reference that data, and the two meet up. So as I said, the landing page is rockthehackathons.com. I'm sure everyone's here for one reason, prize. The prize for the winning team of this challenge will be 400 euros in Amazon vouchers, even if you're in a team of 2, or a team of 3, or a team of 4, or a team of 5. You'll be able to split it however you want. So with that, and with 1 minute to go, I want to try and raise some energy in the room. How's everyone feeling? I feel like you've all just fallen asleep with me talking. Make a bit of noise. Right, so I want you to repeat, right? I want you to say, eat, sleep, code, repeat. Eat, sleep, code, repeat. Eat, sleep, code, repeat. Eat, sleep, code, repeat. Eat, sleep, code, repeat.
Eat, sleep, code, repeat. Woohoo!
And that's pretty much all from BlackRock. Come see us in the fintech area, and if you've got any questions, we'll come over and help you.
Thanks, everyone.
Hi, we are just waiting for our next speaker. Just a couple of more minutes. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, we didn't find you. Okay, so next up, finally, we have 46 Elks telling more about their API. From 46 Elks, we are pleased to have Victoria Backman over here. Please give a big hand.
All right. Excellent. Cool. So let's get this up. Cool. So that was interesting. Hello, everyone. So I'm here from 46 Oaks. And I'm here together with Emil and Martin, who you'll see over there in the office, in the audience. We're not at the office. Well, this is our second office right now. And we're here to help you throughout the entire event, regardless of any track, any challenge, whatever you're trying to do. We know some back-end, front-end databases, open data, public transport APIs especially. Go talk to Martin about that. So if you're stuck during the hackathon and you have any thoughts about how to do something, feel free to email help@46elks.com or come and visit us at the future of buildings, like smart buildings and so on, and talk to us, or just find us with these t-shirts walking around and ask us for information. We're with the Elk. And also we've set up a Finnish phone number, so feel free to note this down. We'll make sure it does go out in the Slack channel at some point. You can also call us or send us a text and let us know where you're at and what you would like us to help you with, and then we'll try to get to you as quickly as possible. But feel free to ask us anything, and we'll try our best to help you. 46 Elks is an API that you can use to send text messages, MMS messages, and phone calls, and you can set up phone numbers. So that's what we did for you at this event. So you can also, with your phone number, you can have a phone number that talks to your service or to your smart mug or ring, and let someone text a message into your service and make something happen. So if you do want to try us out, you visit our website. There's a demo on the start page. That's the first thing you see. If you do go into our API docs, you'll find everything you need about how to use it. If there are any questions, come and talk to us. Also, we have a repository on GitHub that looks something like this. And we've got code examples for, well, most languages that we have been requested about this far. So if anything is missing in here, also just come and talk to us. And we would like to set up more sample code for whatever language is missing. So what can you do with SMS, MMS, and phone calls and phone numbers? Well, we do have a community that does have some fun stuff behind locked gates. And whenever they drive up, they've connected the gates to Raspberry Pi. And they have a list of phone numbers that only members of this association can add their, only they can add their phone number to this list. So whenever they drive up to the gate and they make a phone call sitting in the driver's seat, the Raspberry Pi accepts the phone calls, checks the list for the phone number, and then opens the gate if you're a member of this association with a phone call. Like, that's it. But you can also do user verification and one-time passwords through SMS, but it's really up to you what kind of needs and ideas you have on how to use text messages. Number one thing is that even if Wi-Fi is down and it's not working, you usually still have SMS connectivity. Do we have prizes? Yes, we have prizes for you. And it's about creative use of the 46 Elks API. And the entire team that we'll choose as winners will get tickets to TrainHack for all the members of that team, 2017. It was really awesome last year, so that was the first time we did it. So there's a wagon that's specially set up so that we sit and code opposite each other along one long table. And then we hack on a train as it's riding through Sweden. It was a really nice experience. So I really look forward to welcoming the winning team onto TrainHack 2017. There's also hardware and programming books. So there's runner-up prizes and so on. So that's what we're handing out. So feel free to just play with our API. You don't have to implement it and have it in your final solution. Just show us something fun and cool that you thought to try it out for. Cool. So if you feel help, I need somebody. I'm not going to sing anymore. Talk to Emil or Martin or me, Victoria, and we're going to actually try to rotate our sleeping schedules. So from now on, we're hoping that at least one of us will always be around, regardless of what time it is during the day, or at help@46elks.com. So this is us. Anything else? Feel free to talk to us. Yes?
I have a question. How is your service different?
So different from Twilio, and for example, you can talk to us through just JSON calls instead of using the XML setup. And it's just directly post and get endpoints to the API, so you don't need a complicated SDK to talk to it. Other than that, we work globally just like they do. And we're here. For global markets. But we are, depending on who you're asking, we have a better presence in Europe, yeah. Right, that's right. So for free, you get incoming messages for free on our platform. Try us out. Yeah, that's all from me.
Thank you. Now we have 2 more to go before we head to lunch. Next up, we have Antti Halonen from Jepson telling more about their recently released API. Please welcome.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Antti Halonen from Jepson, and Jepson is a location technology company. We have done these independent locators for 2 years now. So this is the first gen device. It's based on GSM network. and we are releasing the next-gen device in December. And we are here to announce our API, so it's still under development, but of course, as you know, API is always developed, so we want your feedback and we want you to use it. So I'll tell you a bit more about Epson and how to use it in your use cases for whatever reasons. All right, so Epson is a simple device. It's made users first. So basically these consumer versions they only have one hole, which is just to load the battery. So there is no additional things, and the next gen device only has a button in addition to that. So they are really simple to take into use. So you download an application and you start using Epsons. We have started the company at 2013. It's privately owned. We have about 80 owners, so it's crowdfunded partially. 6 employees, or actually 7 today. 20,000 units have been sold, so that's a good number. We've sold over 15,000 this year already of these white versions. And we have had some 4 million funding. So nowadays we have 2 devices in our web pages where you can order those. Those are the list prices, of course. If you went there yesterday, you got the Black Friday deals, which were significantly lower prices. But the first gen device, as you see here, it's quite simple. It communicates via 2G, so it has embedded SIM inside, and it has a GPS location. So via our API, you can start using it. You can locate whatever. You put it on a pet or ship or vehicle or cargo or whatever. And the next gen device, you always can find new uses for a button as well. So maybe order an Uber taxi or pizza or whatever with the button as well. But that's going to be released next month. Example use cases. So thus far, the biggest thing has been animals or pets. So people buy these for locating their animals, basically dogs, and then also elderly people, so people with Alzheimer's and so on, so they don't get lost. Sports is a good thing, and our challenge today is for the sports, but of course you can use these devices from the hardware lab. You can use it for whatever reasons. Asset tracking, that's thing. For example, UPM has their challenge where they want to track their cargo, so that's a good example of that. And security is something that we are working with the button because there is distressed button needs for that business. And next I'll show you a video just to show how it could be used in sports in the future as well. Does the audio work? You can imagine a tune playing on the background. All right, that was the video. So basically what we are enabling as of yesterday is developer access to our REST API. Thus far it's been used for internal purposes only, and it's still developing. But basically you can, via Epson Cloud, you can gain access to both devices. The first phase of taking the API into use is to get one of these white Epsons from the hardware lab. Just ask for Epson, and you get one, and then pair it with your smartphone and download the Epson app so you can get the sharing link for the Epson. So that's important. It is quite technical to pair it with the Epson Cloud, but via our app in smartphones, it works with any smartphone. So you can register the device to Epson Cloud. After that, you have to do a developer registration, which is just to activate user to our cloud, basically your computer or whatever device you're using for developing. And after that, you connect the computer and the device. And then you can start changing the interval on how often the device is updating its location to the cloud. And then you can read from the cloud the device's location. So basically, that's the simple use case. In the future, we will have sensors there for industrial purposes. We will have the button and LED for the Epson Freedom. So it will be developing, but at this point, you only get basically the location of the device. But it's independent device, so you can use it for tracking, for example, cargo or whatever you find, or sports events. So our challenge, well, there was just a feature. So you can find the presentation, by the way, on Epson blog, epson.com, and you go there, blog, and you find the API definition there, and you can find these slides. But the challenge today is if you want to do the Epson challenge, you can get a couple of these from the hardware lab and start figuring out how to make the real-time coverage of a sporting event more working better. So what kind of things you can do? The video showed something you can track, for example, runners or sailing ships or whatever. But the point is that with Epsons, you can, for example, in an orienteering or running event or bicycle event, you can give these to the teams or participants and follow them from a map or whatever. And you can, for example, project in a big screen so that all spectators always know where their, sports fans know that they want to know exactly where their kind of the star or the athlete is going in the track, so you can follow that in real time. Or then you can also make an application for the teams. So if you have a sporting team, for example, in bicycle world, you have teams, so you can track your own team. But that kind of challenge, so take Epsons, do whatever you want with them, and we are pleased to see the results. But also there is a bonus, so we will also reward the people that find other uses for Epson for other challenges. Any questions? So there is some more technical things in our blog, so the REST API and this documentation, so you can find a way to get your hands dirty with Epsons. It seems I have 5 seconds or something, so it was quite nicely in time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have a really super interesting workshop coming up. We have a European Space Agency for the next 55 minutes. We are actually going to take a Skype to, I think, Belgium, where one of the crew members of the European Space Agency is going to lead you with the workshop. If you would want a mic, please just raise your hand like this, and we will bring you a mic. But we will also have Thomas here from European Space Agency, who will first tell you a bit more about them, and then the workshop will go on for the 55 minutes.
Good morning, everybody. I assume I have 2 mics now. Yes, one is enough. So welcome back here at the ESA Space Challenge. It's also called Hacker's Delight, if you look it up in the program. Yesterday, I have told you already a little bit about what we are planning to do here, and that we are giving away lots of cash. Twice 50,000, not dollars, but euros, which is even better. And a free stint at the Esrin App Camp, which is our ESA-own app camp, which will take place next September. There are about 100 applications only per year, so the chance for you to participate is quite big. because with 100 applications, you can calculate your chances are pretty good. So make use of that. Yesterday I've showed you the websites for that. Go back to these websites and check it out and apply for the App Camp and specifically apply for the Master Prize. This is really big stuff you can win there. They are giving away cash prizes, they are giving away incubations, they are giving away preparation of the ideas to market maturity by handing over vouchers to you, 5,000 euros each, and for 40 participants, these vouchers will be made available. So also good perspectives, because participation is also not so huge. So this was the other website I showed you yesterday, Copernicus Master Prize website. All right, just to repeat, in case you had forgotten that already over this night. Right, now we talk about the Space Challenge. I would like to tell you about two issues. First of all, the Copernicus API, which we have set up for you, because we wanted that everybody starts on the same level. So you have already preloaded images over the Arctic, over the Baltic, you name it, lots of stuff on the Copernicus API, which you can access and which you can download image-wise and start working and enriching your great ideas, which you have got already, I hope. Tourism, health, whatever, agriculture, fisheries, there's so many domains you can think about and make your idea enriched. And the other thing I will talk about, if my microphone doesn't give away, is the fact that we have another API which is dealing with navigation. Navigation is also a huge project in ESA, you know, the Galileo satellites, navigation, positioning and timing. We have EGNOS. So these navigation programs have also created an API for you specifically. And I have Zaid here, my colleague from India, working in this area who will talk to you later on this API. But I think if everything goes well, we start with the chat I will have to introduce to you with my colleague Valentin. Valentin Venus, he is the creator of the Copernicus API, and he should be now on Skype. I don't know whether my colleagues from the technics have managed to get the what do I have to do?
Your password.
My password.
Yeah, I don't know it.
Here we go. And then once we have Valentin on the phone, he will introduce this famous API. He has produced, I think, 50 slides. I told him, stop, don't do that to us. Not 50 slides, just boil it down to 5, that we have a good idea of what the API is all about. And then you should ask questions, because I'm sure you have tons of API, what is this, and can I eat that, and whatever. So you have to find out how you make best use of it. And this guy, Valentin Venus, by the way, great name, don't you think? He's really a space geek. He has set up his own company in the Netherlands. He was a former participant in one of the app camps, I tell you. And with the successful outcome of this app camp, he has created his startup. And now Valentin is having big fun with his company and creating APIs like a madman. And he makes, of course, money with it, because he has no social institute. He is working, he is paying his employees, and he created this API. By the way, one employee of his is working in New Delhi, I think. I mean, this is now also very current. People are outsourcing stuff, and this guy is working in New Delhi for him, but he has a labor contract with Valentin Venus in the Netherlands. And now I desperately look into this technology, trying to look whether it will work out. But I assume it will work out. This was the right signal. All right. Here you have Valentin on the screen. Valentin, can you see me?
Yes, I can.
We can see you and we can hear you. Great. I cannot present to you all this great audience which is sitting in front of me, but I think somehow we can make them visible, at least if they come on the on the stage and ask you a question.
Okay.
Right now, I think your plan is to share your screen with
Right.
us, because I told the audience that you will present your 78 slides or so, which you will boil down to 5. I mean, take it easy, don't make it too long, because there will be lots of questions probably, Valentine.
Fine. Good.
And
Fine.
maybe you present briefly what this is all about, and say a
Yeah.
word also on your company. I mean, you have to make some promotion.
Yeah. Fine. Okay. Thank you very much, Thomas. Welcome, everyone. My name is Valentine Venus. I'm a scientist. For the last 20 years, I've been dedicating my career to understanding the impact of climate change and weather variability on things like crop production, the dying of the global coral reefs, etc., etc. And since 2.5 years now, 3 years almost, we spinned off into a company trying to support people like you, making also useful use of this information, rich data source that Thomas has been talking about. So let me, without further delay, switch to my presentation, which I think has been shared with you already.
All right. Now we get the presentation. Here we go.
Okay.
It's good
Can you
visible.
all see my screen? Yeah.
Absolutely. It looks fantastic.
So today I'm very honored to present to you on this wonderful occasion the Maps API we developed with funding from ESA to allow you to make use of satellite data in a more easy and user-friendly manner, we hope. We are originally starting our initiative as a company called Ujuzi Laboratories. It is a Swahili word meaning experience or knowledge, skill. We are located in Europe. We have an office here in the Netherlands. We have an office in Africa, East and West Africa, and we have an office in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, Kabir. So what we do is we build ANI, which again is a Swahili word, but in this case for map, which is the name of our Maps API. This is built in support of events like this, international competition events funded by ESA and others. Using this Maps API, we also build spatially aware applications for clients. I will show you an example in a minute, which is called Cheetah. We also run a numerical weather prediction service to support food security and post-harvest loss modeling. Now, here is an example of one of those applications, Cheetah, which has been launched last August in West Africa. Some 200 truck drivers are now actively sharing information. They are transporting from one country to the other. And make Thomas, a question. Could you mute the microphone on your end? Because I hear an echo.
Everything seems to be okay on my side.
Okay, all right. Then I just continue.
What should I do? Maybe there's an echo.
He is hearing back at what he's saying, so it's hard to speak. So when we are not speaking, press this.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Now the echo is gone, wonderful. Cheetah is an acronym for an application that tries to help traders and farmers in West Africa at the moment in minimizing their losses during transport. So as you see here on the picture, you see bad road pavement conditions, many checkpoints where policemen are charging small bribes from the truck drivers, eating away some 10% of their revenue. And in total, some 30 and 40% of all produce is lost after harvested from the field. That was my son. Okay, so we also use the Maps API for this purpose. So the Maps API tries
Valentine.
to bridge a gap.
Yeah.
A gap between...
Valentine, do you hear me?
Yes. I can
Valentine, we really need to speed up. We have not much time because we need also to talk about the navigation API. So please skip irrelevant slides. We love all Cheetah. It's a great project, and he has, by the way, won the competition in Eswin with the Cheetah program, which you just saw. But now it's not the time for it, Valentine. Go on and skip stuff.
Thank you very much for that fatherly correction. Yeah. So we try to bring together different earth science and GIS information communities in the Maps API. Some research published on the same. We help to save you time in using Earth observation data. As was explained already through our Maps API, we support 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional, even 5-dimensional data sets. You can interrogate these layers, which I will show in a minute, using various API methods. Here you see a brief diagram of the process of how it works. Now here you see a listing of our data layers, which you can explore through our web browser. So at the homepage you will find maps, and this is a listing of the maps. Each of them you can explore and find useful ones for your particular app concept. Here you see the metadata of each layer, describing what is the purpose of this layer, how was it produced, which satellite sensors are being incorporated, etc., etc. Here you see an example of an API method called getMetadata, and you get a listing in a GeoJSON or an RSS feed of when new data becomes available. Here you see an example of an RSS feed showing you the latest observations for air quality in this case. You can also interrogate a layer using what we call a get point information method. So you get the value at one particular location in time. You can also get a time series. So here you see a progression of air quality over a part of Italy. And you see the variability over time. You can get that information back in various formats. Here you see the same, but then a vertical profile, because this is a 3-dimensional data set. So you see the distribution in different layers in the atmosphere. The get transact allows you also to reuse this information in your own application, of course. Here you see topsoil moisture content, also from a Sentinel-1 dataset over a part in the Netherlands. This is a vertical profile of the primary conditions, biochemistry conditions of the ocean. Here you see the amount of phosphates in the depth of the ocean using a method called getVerticalProfile. Another example of the same. GetArea is a method that allows you to digitize a polygon at runtime or retrieve it from our database system. And then for that polygon, request information inside contained by the polygon. So all the pixels from a satellite image are then queried and aggregated. So here you see an example of the aggregations that we provide. You can get the average, the standard deviation, the skewness, etc. of all the pixels contained by the polygon. Or you can get it in raw format and show the pixel variability inside the polygon as a histogram. We can also support animation, so you see the progression over time in a map view. We also have a method called map swipe, and it allows you to swipe a high resolution layer covered by a satellite image of a geophysical quantity. Now, of course, we are here to help you, so we have made available a Skype group in which you can introduce yourself, and if you like, we can spin out into a separate private Skype group to discuss your app concepts. This link is provided on the webpage. So we can help you develop some use cases. Here you see the anomaly of the Mount Etna on the island of Sicily in Italy, where we have all seen the erratic geophysical processes of the Earth's conditions in the last couple of months, causing earthquakes. And here you see a very warm pixel in the Mount Etna relative to the surrounding temperatures as observed by Sentinel-3. Wind speeds, we have data for understanding the conditions on the ocean. Well, just explore it yourself using the public map viewer. Okay, combining all of this information, I'm skipping a few slides to wrap up my presentation. Here you can see a snow index that can be calculated from Sentinel-2. We have made this product available also on our public-facing digital data library. You can copy these layers into your private Ramani Cloud user account, so each group can create its own account. And you can also color these layers, turning them into human meaningful information. So red is bad, orange is medium, and green is good, for example. All right, so you can register for an account. Here is the registration page, and then you get a new database which allows you to get an API key for any of the apps you're developing. I suggest you make one group account. So perhaps in this case, we're asking for your name. Perhaps you could create the name of your product or your app concept. And then inside the account, you can make multiple sub-users. For each of your users, you can have a sub-user. Here's an example of where you use your API key in, for example, Android Studio. Here you see the screen of adding sub-users. You can also upload your private data holdings. So if you have a time series of GeoTIFF products, you can upload them. And even if you have a time dimension, make sure that the date formatted string is supplied as well, so that we detect the time dimension for you as you upload your data sets. We also provide you some map monitoring tools, so you can monitor the uptake of your maps by your end users. All right, this is my presentation. So we talked about the Maps API, that we are here in the coming 2 days to build out your app concept. So please feel free to engage us in your brainstorm and go ahead and explore our data listings on the web. So this was my presentation.
Thank you very much, Valentine. This is welcome. And it is particular welcome that you offered also that you can continue to chat with our participants after this presentation. It is the Skype group. Is it difficult for these guys and women to join the Skype group? Valentine, do you hear me?
Yeah, the Skype group is available to announce yourself. If you want to spin out into a private discussion, go ahead and leave your Skype ID in the public Skype group so that we can spin out into a private group.
Okay, this sounds good to me. Any question on this continued Skype chatting? Apparently everybody has understood. I wouldn't be able to do that, but these guys have done so. Right, now, before we go to the navigation API, are there questions from your side? This gives you also some stage time. Can you take the microphone? I hope that Valentine can hear you. He might not see you, but
Hello. Okay, I just wanted to ask, how can we access your presentation to check it out ourselves and
Yes.
learn more about it?
This
Yeah.
this
So there's
yes.
there's a dedicated web page made available on the Junction explaining the support that ASA is offering. And I've asked them to include the link to this PowerPoint there. So it's made available to all of you already, if I'm not mistaken. And otherwise, I will discuss with the organizers in a minute to make sure that it's accessible to all of you.
Yeah. So it is also available on the so-called Slack, Slack chat box, whatever. So if you go on that one and go to the ESA part, Angelika, this will work. And you will find this presentation there. All right, next question. You need to get the microphone.
Okay, so you mentioned that we can register for an account and we get database. So what type of database we are getting? Is it SQL, MySQL, whatever?
Did you hear the
Should
question?
I repeat?
Valentine, did you hear the question?
No, I didn't hear it. Could you repeat it?
Yes, what type of database are we getting after registering in the account?
So
What type of
what kind of
database?
databases are available once you get registered for the API?
Yes.
This was the question.
Could you repeat that closer up to the microphone,
Yeah.
please?
What kind of databases are available on the API?
Okay. Well, it's a very broad listing. Go ahead and explore yourself, but it varies between maritime, land surface, and atmosphere. But for this particular event, we've added some special data sets to help you in any Arctic case studies.
All right, so there are Arctic areas, there are the Baltic states, but there are also other European territories available in data sets. Another question. This API is really important for you. It has all the data you need to make your idea work. You don't need to go to any other website, basically. If you want, you can. You can go to the Sentinel web page and download Sentinel data, but the API is already good enough. I see that you are all impressed. So basically, you know everything about the Earth Observation Copernicus API. If this is really the case, you have 3 seconds left. I will tell Valentine that this is for the time being it. And thank you very much, Valentine, and please stay tuned on this Skype chatterbox, which will continue to work.
Yeah.
Is this okay, Valentine?
Yes, please. I will be there, and my
right.
colleagues Spearman and Guillermo will be there also.
Okay, no problems with it. Thank you very much, Valentine, and now I give the floor to my colleague Said. Said, show up here on the stage with your mic and tell us a little bit about your API, which you developed for the navigation part of space.
Yes. Thank you, Thomas. Hello, everybody. So I'm from Finnish Geospatial Research Institute, supporting ESA with our GNSS API. In Finland, we have 20 permanent GNSS stations available all over Finland. And what we did here is offering those GNSS measurements data that are available in those 20 FinRef stations. You could download with the API that we provide. So there are some username and password given, especially for this hackathon. And also, because as you know that this global navigation satellite system, it is not so accurate. It has this environmental error associated. So if you just apply a GPS or GNSS position solution, it is, for example, from 2 to 5 meter accurate. But for most applications, it may not be enough. So you need to mitigate that kind of errors that are coming from the environment, for example. So in order to do that, you can do it in two ways. One is called a differential GNSS service, and the other one is from EGNOS, like augmentation service. For Europe, it is called European Geostationary Overlay Service, called EGNOS, and it is valid for the all over Europe. So it also has a geostationary satellite and transmitting the correction parameters for all over Europe. So if I show you now, yes, it's not this one. Yes, this one. Let's check here. Yeah. So we have provided the links here. Yes, so if I go down. Yes, so in the first case, so you would get real-time differential GNSS correction data from Finland. So for all those 20 FinRep stations, so those corrections can be applied to all the GNSS measurements that are available in Finland. So any position solution that you can get with your mobile phone or any GNSS measurements that are coming from GPS, you can apply the corrections to your position and get an accuracy less than 1 meter. So if you'd like to get the real-time data, you have to access to this service, DGNSS service, and that is, if you go there, so you'll find the username and password and how you could utilize the data. And that this other option, so this is the same data, but this is archive data, this RENEX format data, GNSS measurements data, so that I told about before, like 20 stations are there, and you can utilize this RTK-lib open source software in order to like process your data that you get from there, from the stations, this RENEX data. And the data format is also given there, and the manual for that, the open source software called RTK-lib is given there. And you have to download, it's open source software, so you can download from internet. And then the augmentation service that EDAS is providing is called the EDAS service. So you have to have this FileZilla or any kind of client like FTP software available. So you can connect to this server and then download the correction data for that particular instance. So if it is a 1 hour data, so you have to know that which day it is, and then you have to know that at which hour it is. For example, if it is the 13th hour, you have to get the correction data for the 13th hour and then apply the corrections to your position solution. So some example cases how you could utilize the data is, for example, in some cases, some kind of integrity check you can make. If any of the systems, because there is not only GPS, there are GPS, Galileo from Europe, GLONASS from Russia, Boidu from China. So if any of the signal doesn't work, so you can basically tell with the measurement data that there is something wrong because you get a lot of error in your position fix. So immediately you can tell the authority that, okay, there's something wrong. And if there is, for example, some kind of interference in some site, so you can also identify that and tell the authority that, okay, there's something wrong. So that could be one possibility. Or you can also make some kind of heat map of your correction data all over Finland and tell that, okay, in southern part, for example, it's quite good because the dense location of the station is quite dense, but in northern part, it's not so good. And you can also tell that if there is some kind of auroral activities going on in the northern latitude, and due to that, there are some kind of error that can be seen only in the northern region. So if it is too much difficult to kind of understand this, so maybe it would be kind of interesting to provide some kind of idea and link it with some other app, other APIs that you're using. So if you extend your thoughts and utilize the ideas, I think that would be also very much interesting. Yes, thank you. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Thank you, Said. Yeah, let's check out if you have some issues. For the navigation part of the space data, also important. I see that you are basically happy, so you have understood all the ways how to get hold of the data. I think Said has made it clear. And now I think just go for it. Thank you, Said. Maybe I'll just tell you about one classical example how navigation data and Earth observation data can work so well together in competitions like this. The classical example for this is precision farming. We get these ideas all the time. I mean, they are really old. Don't use them anymore. But it's a good idea to demonstrate the usefulness of this data working together. You know, the farmer doing precise work on his fields and knowing exactly how his crop is doing. I mean, this is the best thing he can have. He can exactly know where he has to go with his tractor and which kind of crop is already mature or which kind of crop has developed a disease and needs some spraying or something like this. So this is what he can do with navigation and with Earth observation data. So this was a classical idea which came up in the very beginning when we have demonstrated the usefulness of Earth observation and navigation data for the daily use, precision farming. You will come up with much better stuff now, meanwhile. Huh? By the way, if you're looking for ideas, and yesterday I saw some of you scratching their heads and saying, oh, well, there are so many data and so many sources where I can download data. This is overwhelming, but I don't know really what I can do with them, in which areas I can make an idea work. So just to give you maybe an idea what has happened already, just to make you a bit brainstorm, go on the Master Prize website. Go on the Copernicus Master Prize website, and there you will find a link to a booklet which we recently issued, which summarizes all Master Prize competition, winners, ideas, and AppCamp competitions until July of this year, so very recent. And if you want to know how to go to the Master Prize webpage, I'll tell you immediately. It's very easy. It's www.copernicus-masterprize.com. This is really easy. Go on this webpage, and there you will find a link to this booklet. It's online. It's available, doesn't cost anything. We have produced it for a lot of money. We couldn't bring it here because we have only 800 copies and they are so expensive we couldn't afford to give them away. But you can read them online. It's much better. They're also on Slack, this famous Chatterbox. Angelika has put all the stuff on Slack, so not only the little ideas booklet, but also the presentation of Valentine. Right, now I hope that things are looking good for you, that you have established your rough idea, that you know where to get the data, and that you are now working, either as a team or alone, whatever. Tomorrow we have the final judgment day. I mean, there's a jury meeting, and then we are giving away the prizes. And I really keep my fingers crossed. And now, again, my question for you is, can I help you with anything to make your idea work and to make you happy? All right, I hope everybody could hear what Angelika said. There's one question. Maybe you take a microphone because... the people hear you.
I just didn't hear the spelling of this website. Copernicus.
Yes, www.copernicus-masterprize.
What is this word?
Master Prize, like the master.
Prize.
Master Prize in one word, because this is a master prize of the Copernicus program. Jesus Christ, you should know it. Copernicus-masterprize in one word.com. Really, you find good stuff there. And don't hesitate to also participate in the Master Prize. We open the competition in March, April next year, and you can apply individually. No group required, no prototype required, just fill in paperwork. You won't believe it, just some questionnaires. Paperwork, 5 pages or so, it's all provided to you, you just fill it in. And if the idea is good, and there is a little bit of a business plan, you have the chance to walk away with lots of stuff. Basically cash, which you prefer, I know you. You don't give a damn on vouchers, you want to see cash, but it's okay, I understand it. And you get the incubation, which is of course great because ESA has these incubation centers, business incubation centers, and all winners and 400 runner-ups, which means 400 shortlisted idea, will get 5,000 euros worth of support funded by the European Union this time. It's not ESA giving this away, but the European Union. European Union has realized the value of this competition and wants to establish it also as a kind of take-up initiative. Take-up, this is the word which is now very popular in the Copernicus program. All right, is there anything else which I can do for you? Otherwise, I have the good news that I am basically over with my presentation, that we have saved 18 minutes, and we can catch up maybe something of the lost time when the projector failed. So this is now looking much better. I see you basically content, no complaints and no nothing for the time being, so that's fine. So go working, I would suggest, and keep in touch with Valentine, our space geek, setting up the API. He's still on Skype. Thank you.
Thank you a lot. That was really awesome. Okay, so now the lunch is actually going on over there, so you are free to go eat. We are going to continue over here 45 past 1 when the hackers workout is going to begin, and after that there's going to be some talks until the late evening.
Tää toimii. Okay, gather around. We will continue with the program. Hello everyone, my name is Iiro Nurmi. I will be the host for the whole day and event evening. Please, now we have some break workout, actually hackers workout by the Kuko team there. So, are you ready? Yes, so please welcome Ida and Vera from Kuko.
Thank you. So probably you've been sitting the whole day and maybe you can see that your productivity is going down and your energy is going down. Yeah. So we're here to boost that up and for you to win the competition. So you are the winners.
Please stand up.
Yes, let's stand up and let's do the exercise.
Are you ready?
This is one of the funniest ones, so you might be laughing at the same time. No worries. Yes, you can put the video on. Thank you. And then just basic run. If you're fierce, you can just lift your knee a little bit higher. Vera can show you. Like that. Faster. Yeah. And a little bit faster, as fast as you can.
I know you can
go
do it more.
crazy.
Faster.
Yeah. Great. And then the next move.
Great job.
This is all about hands. Do as big movement as you can.
and smile.
And then as fast as you can, just do it as fast. Great, and then the last one. This is also a balance exercise to someone. And then just do it again as fast as you can. Great. And then another hand and another leg. Then again, as fast as you can. Go now. Hey, great job.
And because you are hackers, we have one extra challenge for you. It's brain challenge. You need one thumb and index finger, point it forward, bring it back close to your body and change. Index finger and thumb. And again. It's easy. Those brain challenges mix your left and right side of the brain and helps you concentrate. And then it's Saturday, so for the last
one we do the boogie woogie. So let's go.
So let's party.
You can go as down as you can and then come up.
Can everybody sing? Cheek is my favorite.
Great job.
Great.
We wish you good luck for the project you're going to do today and tomorrow, and maybe even the night. And thank you.
Thank you.
You can come from the stage. It's me again. Okay. Have you ever heard of Unity? Yeah, good. Because it's the world's most popular platform and development engine. You can do 2D games, 3D games, and VR with it. And actually, in Unity, they have developed Rust, Hearthstone, and Kerbal Space programs. So, please welcome to the stage now, from Unity, Olli Nicholson.
Whew. Did the workout. That wasn't a great idea before a talk, was it? Just getting plugged in. No, I provide sound. I will need vision though. There we go. Fantastic. Okay, and do we have a timer or shall I? Great. Okay, welcome. So, my name's Olli Nicholson. I'm going to present AAA scenes into VR. What do? I'm a field engineer for Unity, and generally speaking, we go to different events, GDC, Unite that we put on all around the world. We also do developer visits, so we go and visit developers that are using Unity, and we partake in hackathons that we do internally, and of course, events like this. And we do community outreach. So we reach out via our community forums to discuss games, all sorts of stuff that people are doing with Unity through our forums. So one of the hackathons that I took part in was trying to get really high-end visual stuff onto mobile VR platforms. And we know this is a challenge. Here's some of the characters from some of our tech demos that you may recognize, Adam, and this dude with a moustache who's getting a bit of a reputation. Anyway, what did we get when we immediately tried to get some of these high-end demos onto mobile VR? Not very much. It's very hard to render stuff onto mobile platforms. Why is that? Well, because VR has a lot of constraints. You're trying to run at a very high frame rate. You're also rendering twice, if you think about it. So what are the kind of things that we can do to help understand how to render more efficiently on mobile VR platforms? Well, if we talk a little bit about the goings-on underneath in Unity, then maybe we can help understand where we can make some optimizations. Now, I noticed the slide is slightly off the edge of the screen. Do we have a bit more side there? I can talk through it. There's quite a lot to cover in a short space of time, so I'll talk you through it. So the first stage of rendering in the render loop in Unity is the CPU pre-processing. This is where Unity does all the gameplay, physics, and AI stuff, processing the transforms, trying to work out where your stuff is in the scene. Level of detail stuff, so we're talking about meshes of different resolutions loading in at different distances. We're doing the occlusion culling, so the bit that occludes what things are visible behind other things that don't need to be rendered, and the dynamic batching, so the batching together of dynamic objects in Unity, so they're rendered together. We do the CPU skinning at this stage. We also do frustum culling, so what the camera can see and what it can't see that can be discarded at that stage, and sorting, the render order of things that happen in Unity. So things we can do to optimize at this early stage, we can use the culling API, which helps control what is culled before the render. So we can optimize the character hierarchy. We can remove transforms that are not required at render time. There's a little tick box for the character rigs that says optimize character hierarchy. Just tick that, and you just need to expose the transforms that you're using. We can use LOD groups, so we can create high resolution and low resolution meshes that load in at different stages, and that's pretty straightforward to use in Unity. We can also disable sorting altogether if it's not used, because it does have a hit. And if you're not bound by draw calls, then don't batch, because there is a cost associated with that. But this is going to cover many of those different ways. On the next stage of the render loop, so we're doing the VR. At this stage, you have to render a cube on the left eye, and then for the right eye, and then render cube 2 for the left eye and for the right eye. So you're doing the whole scene twice. You're also doing all your shadow map computations. Things that you can do to save at this stage. Double wide rendering is a good technique that we've recently implemented. So you render that cube for the left eye and the right eye, and then you come back to the second object. Then you can also reduce shadow casters, receivers, limit the shadow distance and cascades, all the kind of things you want to turn off to gain some performance improvements. And even avoid shadow mapping altogether if you can. Here's a quick example where you just use good old blob shadows, a little rendered transparent texture that you place under an object, so that instead of trying to calculate the shadows from the angle of every light in the scene, you're just simply attaching something that renders at the floor when it needs to, and you save quite a lot of render time that way. Good old cheating tactics. So the next stage is when it goes from the CPU to the GPU. This is crucial. Material changes are expensive here. Light map changes, spatial localization, where things are spread out all around your scene, all have an impact on performance. And send command buffers. This is where a lot of this stuff takes place. So the things you can do to improve performance here, you can turn on your batching. You've got static and dynamic batching. You can batch all your static objects together, and it puts them into one mesh and reduces the number of draw calls. Texture atlasing, you're probably aware of that technique where you bundle as many textures at build time into one material so that you're using less material changes. And then use larger light maps. So if your rooms are covering multiple objects with different light maps, you have a hit there. So you want to try and use bigger light maps for and a fewer number of them. Material property blocks and multi-threaded rendering and using the Mesh API. So if you actually just cut through all of that, you can render the stuff yourself using the Mesh API. Moving on to the vertex processing. is where the rasterization and the spherical harmonic lighting happens, and all the per vertex lighting stuff, and also GPU skinning. So if you're doing animation on the GPU, this is where this happens. So things you can save at this point would be using fewer triangles, CPU skinning. Fragment processing, the next stage. So all of the, this is a very expensive stage, shadow map computation, deferred lighting, light mapping, physically based rendering. So here, it's crucial to limit the overdraw. Control your rendering order with materials and render queues, and avoid transparency wherever you can on these platforms, because every overlap has a massive cost associated with it. Here's a very quick example of how the profiler, frame debugger, can actually run through the order of all of the things that are rendered on your screen. Now, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to skip through that part. Then finally, you're onto screen space processing. So your color grading, your tone mapping, your bloom, all of these effects are kind of listed in cost. So the cheapest at the top to the most expensive at the bottom. The golden rule being try and use as few processing pixels as possible. So at the end of that, obviously that's quite a lot to take in. So you probably want something a bit more digestible. I've boiled them down into some recipes. For the starter, you can enable static batching and dynamic batching. Tick that box. Disable shadow mapping where possible. Disable the procedural skybox and all that skybox lighting. And you can disable runtime global illumination. You can change all the lights to be baked, so creating light maps that are baked in your scene. And changing all the emissive shader properties to baked, so you're not creating dynamic emissive materials. Then, of course, try and whack the light map size as high as you can to create fewer light maps. For the main course, we can warm the profiler and use that to profile exactly what's happening in our scene to make our reductions. CPU skinning or GPU skinning to take a load off so that you can work out if you're CPU banned, then you can pass some stuff over to GPU and vice versa. Inspecting the overdraw, so trying to work out what things are rendered semi-transparent on top of others and reduce that complexity. And then use a frame debugger to watch the rendering order and make changes that are applicable to your render queues. It was still not enough. So once you've done all of those optimizations that are out of the box, there's some things that you probably still want to try and address, because we've only managed to render the actual characters and not the rest of the scenes. So if you're using physically based shading, you have to understand that there's a massive cost associated with that. So use it where it counts. If you've got very close-up, shiny things that you want to enhance, then go ahead. But everything else, think about using cheaper shaders, specular mobile diffuse, for example. And in fact, there's a concept that you have a range of perceptions in VR, which means that at different stages between the player and the distance, you have these ranges which are able to discern the quality of what those things you're doing. So in the close range, all the verts, but no normal maps or displacement maps because it can jar. The range 2, sort of 3 meters to 10 meters, you want to use less verts, but more normal and displacement maps to give the impression of detail. And then range 3, you want to go into baked shading and only silhouette geometry where possible. And in the background, imposters and environment maps. So talking of environment maps, here's a very quick run-through of how to take a very complex, high-resolution scene and bake that into an environment map. So you take a reflection probe in Unity, you can set the resolution here, and you have an option to click Bake, which bakes out a high dynamic range EXR for you, which you can then use as an environment map in a much lower resolution scene. So I've now deleted all of the foreground geometry, and so I've got all these mountain ranges and skies, and I can bake that out into a reflection probe, which actually becomes a texture that you can use. So in the next scene, I show you loading that one in. So you then get rid of all your very expensive background geometry in the mountains and all of that, and you can simply load in an environment texture at the back. Yes, there you can see. So you set your skybox to cube map, and you load your environment map, and before long, we will be able to see 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'm going to go over to the inspector and select that environment map that's now loaded in. So it gives the impression that I've got all of that geometry in the background when I don't. So you can even do that with dynamic backgrounds by capturing 360-degree video which you can do either stereoscopically or in a singular texture. So there's a number of plugins for that in Unity, including VR Panoramas, one that we used for this hack. And in this hack, we managed to turn the Adam demo into a VR experience. So we literally rendered from the position from the head out into 360-degree stereoscopic video cubes, but then we put the fully animated for very low cost in a mobile VR context. So that was the hugely complex character scene that people were actually seeing from the Adam demo, rendered stereoscopically to the user in the background of the animated 3D character Adam. So you can see. We like to call that super cheating. There's other things you can do. So automatic LOD generation, there's a number of tools out there. This is a demo from one that we did in the Hack Week with Joachim, our CTO. He managed to produce a photogrammetry solution which would take a very high resolution mesh with lots of textures and reduce that to a very simplistic mesh that you could then render dynamic level of detail meshes or LODs on the fly. And he managed to turn that whole village scene, which you'll see slightly later on, from thousands and thousands of polygons into no more than about 5,000, as you'll see through the video here. So 100 poly mesh is the reduction that's created from that. And if you populate an entire village with that, you can see that the difference it makes is quite significant. Bit of a slow video, so I'm going to just rush through here to see if we can get to the end. Come on. There we go. So a fly through city block from 1.5 million triangles down to about 5,000 triangles. And that's the power of photogrammetry in terms of a technique for level of detail. Pretty nice. So the final dessert, use a tasty poly reduction method. Reduce your texture sizes and atlas them where you can. Limit your shader variants and expensive shaders, and use LOD groups. That's very important. Sprite sheet animations instead of lots of particles, and try and use mesh particles instead of billboards, because the overdraw is crazy on billboarded particles. So eventually we did it. We had fully featured VR demos running on the Gear VR in this particular case, in 2 of the hack weeks that we undertook internally. And what were the lessons that we learned from that? Well, there are a huge, broad range of scopes for performance targets within VR, from supercomputer to pocket calculator and everything in between, as you can see from this rather crude example at the back. And the lesson to be learned from that is that if you try and target what you're doing earlier to define the scope of your work, then you know how much general rendering optimizations or complete reauthoring your project you need to do. In this case, it was somewhere in the middle. That's kind of how we worked, but basically smoke and mirrors without actually using smoke and actual mirrors. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ollie.
Oh, last thing I would say.
Where can people find you?
Yes, come and find me after. If you want a card, I can send you a copy of that presentation so you can digest it a bit more slowly.
Yeah, there was a lot of information. Thank you, Ollie. Next up, I think we have quite good, relevant information for you guys in hackathons, because it's all about protecting your own idea and your own product, and how to do that, and about EPRs and copyrights is Teemu Lang from Papula Nevinpat. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. At least some people find this still interesting, so I will go on as planned. My name is Teemu Lang. I come from an IP law firm called Papula Nevinpat here in Helsinki, pretty close by at Ruoholahti. And there I work as a CDO at the moment, developing web-based services for the legal industry. And before that, I worked quite some time as a patent attorney, filing, drafting, prosecuting patent applications to protect our clients' inventions. So, briefly, what are IP rights? They are they don't convey a right to the right owner directly as such, but they are so-called negative rights. They allow you to forbid someone else from using your inventions, your copyrighted code, your designs. So the different forms of IP rights include, let's summarize briefly, they include everything that you need to protect either your creations which are of technical or also non-technical nature. There are patents to protect inventions, including software, by the way. So we often get a question, can software be patented? Of course it can. It has been patented and it will be patented in the future, and you just have to be a bit more careful how you formulate your invention to get a patent for software. Then there are utility models, a bit like a patent, but their period for protection is shorter, and you can't get a utility model protection for software. Then we have trademarks, of course, with which you can protect brands, logos, colors, even scents in some jurisdictions. Then we have design rights to protect the actual appearance, and also a very trendy thing now in my field is to protect user interface designs with a design right. And then there are, of course, copyrights, which I guess is the most familiar way of protecting your creations, your software. So then, the topic of this presentation is how IPRs relate to open innovation. So what is open innovation? Open innovation is for some people, and some people want to portray it as some form of abstraction with a greater cause, and even state that IPRs, especially patents, would somehow be in the way of open innovation, as a barrier before open innovation. I want to be quite explicit about that is not the case. In fact, open innovation is nothing more than a predefined contractual framework for carrying out R&D in a way that is more accessible to a larger group of people. Of course, the traditional way of carrying out innovation is, if you want to call it closed innovation, where companies themselves develop things and protect them with the aforementioned IP rights. But even that mode of cooperation, of course, includes agreements between different parties. So the existence of IPRs are still at the very core of open innovation, and it just facilitates a lot more people to come into a community and start developing things with a predefined set of contracts. So I believe sincerely that there would be no open innovation without IPR. Because without these agreements, you would sort of have a pretty wild situation, of course serving the kind of a happy family ideology that we would all just come together and develop something for a greater cause. But what happens when someone in this kind of an under-regulated open innovation community suddenly decides that, hey, I want to make some money out of this? This happens. You have released your let's talk about program, software code. You have released your code to a certain group of community, maybe made it even public, under no obligations or no limitations for a third party to take advantage of your code. How would you feel when somebody else is making money with your code? You would not be so happy anymore. And the happy family ideology just crushes. So open innovation without agreements is really at in the conflict zone between ideology and business realities. One good example of this, one very famous one, maybe a lot of you have heard about it, is comes from 2014 when Elon Musk publicly announced at very high-profile forums that Tesla is now opening their patents to everybody to be used. And he kind of portrayed himself as and Tesla as a big philanthropist. But if you read carefully what he stated, we believe that applying the open source philosophy to our patents will strengthen rather than diminish Tesla's position in this regard. So, and if you went on to study more carefully what Tesla did, is that they released their patents to be openly used by anyone. However, the small print said that if you use these patents and you come up with an invention of your own, you are forced to license it back to Tesla. So, not so philanthropic anymore. It was just a wise, smart business decision, that's all. So, a very conventional cross-licensing situation where Tesla managed to get a large number of smart people developing things for electrical vehicles for them. They diminished their R&D costs and got very good access to a bunch of smart people developing stuff for them. Concerning software licenses and different form of open source or free source software, Wikipedia actually, as it happens, has a very good summary about these licenses. There are dozens of them, as I'm sure you're aware of. So, as a summary, open innovation is not charity, and when you use IP or take licenses from an open source community, or when you give the community licenses to your own IP, I encourage you strongly to make sure that you familiarize yourself with the contractual framework that is behind it. It gives you rights to the development, to the IP of the open source community, but you also will have some obligations. For example, you will probably be restricted from patenting stuff yourself if you take stuff from an open source community. There are licenses like this, very many of them actually. And also the decision on whether or not to take an open source license or to participate in open innovation should be governed by our, first of all, naturally there are these soft values, whether you want to be a contributor to the humankind just by ideology, or whether you actually want to make money. If you actually want to make money and do business out of this, you should evaluate at what stage your company is in. Tesla, for example, huge company, very well-known brand, they don't lose much when they open up their patents to everybody, because they have such a strong brand that it's very hard for anybody, well, I wouldn't say anybody, let's wait for the real car manufacturers, but for many people to compete against Tesla in the electrical car domain, even only with technology. And lastly, I want to still emphasize that patents, in the same way as copyrights, do not prevent open source innovation, but rather they enable it, like I have tried to show. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Teemu. Where can people find you if they want more information? For example, if they develop some kind of idea to be patented.
Yeah, so you can contact me. There was the contact information on the last slide. So you can call me, send me email. I'll happily answer any questions you may have.
Let's bombard him with the calls.
IP.
Okay, but yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, okay, next up, from data center, we will have demo for you guys. And this is Elastic Cloud Platform, so hard names to pronounce. So please welcome Heikki Lavanko.
Hello.
Hello. Hey guys. So he is Heikki. My name is Matti. How are you doing? Are you having a good time?
Yeah.
Come on. Where's my hype man? Hype man. Elastic. Okay. Never mind. Listen, guys. We are Data Center Finland. We are local. We are a cloud service provider from Finland, and we're teamed up with Junction to give you guys the best platform as a service offering. And what is platform as a service, you ask? Well, roll the tape, Heikki. Let's see.
Thank you, Matti. Hope that we get the sound. No, the sound is not coming.
You want to try again?
Okay. Well, this is the demo session. Yeah, here is, yeah, set default. Yeah. Now it should work. So full screen.
He's fluent in Java, PHP, Ruby, and Klingon. His toes have their own IP addresses. He wrote 2,000 lines of code in a single day while wearing long pants and a neatly ironed shirt. And he once made eye contact with a lady. He is the most interesting developer in the world.
I don't always use Pass, but when I do, I prefer Jelastic. Keep coding, my friends.
He's fluent.
All right, guys. So there you go. That's a platform as a service offering to you, and it's yours to try out. And we are going to have an amazing prize for the best project that we'll see tomorrow on Jelastic. And behold, for the best project and the best team, we're going to give out a year's supply of genuine Finnish craft beer. So that's 365 bottles of beer for you guys.
With your own labels.
With your own labels, you get to design your label. It's going to be unique. It's going to be yours. So be sure to upload your project, your application to our cloud. And take it away, Heikki. Show us what it really means.
Thank you very much, Matti. So I'm here going to show you a hands-on demonstration about the Jelastic Cloud Service. And my goal is to produce a Geo server from Geo server's own Java package, Java deployment package. Then I'm also going to deploy Splunk from Docker, provided by Splunk. And then I'm also going to deploy a WordPress site. So all these three, we have 7 minutes. Hope we get some extra time also. No, that's enough for us. Yeah, should be. So I start with Jelastic. Jelastic is platform as a service, capacity cloud engine for you, where you can take your code and run it. So with Jelastic, if you program Java, you can take a Java. You can choose different kinds of Java application servers for you. You can take, for example, Tomcat, take Java 8, and then you can take your resources. Jelastic is based on containers. It's not a virtual machine. It uses cloudlets as resources, and one cloudlet has 400 megahertz of CPU power and 128 megs of RAM. And the idea behind Jelastic is that you always have to pay only for the use of your service. So you don't have to allocate 4 vCPUs and 16 gigabytes of RAM and use all that to make sure that you don't waste your money. So with Jelastic, you pay what you use. And now I created a Tomcat. This is for the Geo server, and it starts creating. Now I start with Docker. I hope you guys are familiar with Docker. So, and also Splunk. Splunk is very nice. I search Splunk from the Docker hub. And let's see, what do we have? Yeah, there are some. So I choose the one that Splunk provides. I can click more details to get me into the Splunk public repository. This is something that I need for running the environment. So I choose Splunk. Next, I give variables. Now my Tomcat instance is ready behind. I give variables for Splunk, part argument, and accept license. Copy. Paste, save. Apply. And I give the resources, choose a correct data center, and click create. Now it starts creating Splunk. If I now look about the Tomcat, over the page, there is Apache Tomcat answering. And now I can deploy the Geo server there. I just choose from the deployment package, deploy, choose the correct environment, and choose a context for my deployment and click deploy, and it starts deploying. And the way I'm going to do WordPress, I choose it from Marketplace, and here I have WordPress. I have lots of more different kind of already ready applications for your use. If you need WordPress, use it, of course. I click install. I choose name for my service, the correct data center, click install, and it starts installing WordPress for me. It will use Nginx as an application server and MariaDB as a database server. Now I click close, and let's have a look. What do we have? Splunk uses port 8000 for connecting to the web console. So I have to make a network translation to port 8000. Let's open just a name, and then I give port 8000, click add. And now I got access URL for Splunk. Let's have a look. Do we have a demo effect? Splunk is answering. So here, I can log into Splunk, admin. This is hard, change me, no, copy. I don't want to change the password, skip. And now I have Splunk instance ready. Now I can, for example, for my IoT devices, etc., I can make them to collect logs, etc., to Splunk. What about the Apache? Let's refresh it. The Geo server is answering. So I have Geo server. I didn't do anything. I just deployed the Geo server package and it's ready. What about the WordPress? Is it ready already? Yeah, it's here. I got credentials to WordPress and also to the database layer. Copy, open the browser. And now I can log in. VP admin, paste. And there it is. Now I can start doing my website with WordPress CMS. So I think we used around 6 minutes to do all these 3 projects. Maybe Matti have something to say?
Yeah, That's crazy stuff. So you actually made a WordPress site, a geo server site, and Splunk in like, what, 5 minutes?
5 to 6 minutes, yeah.
That's with Gelastic, my friend. So keep coding.
Yeah.
And remember, some awesome prizes going on. You want to have your taste of a Finnish local craft beer. So upload your code and let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcel. Thanks.
All right. Yeah, so Finnish beer.
Finnish beer.
I want to win that.
Yeah, join us.
I
Thanks.
will try to, upon the stage, program something. Well, okay. How are we guys doing? Good? Everything looks a little bit tired? There's somebody sleeping? Please wake him up. Next up, we have some music thing going on. So I'm really interested about this. So Musician will show us what the hell to do with their app and their game. So Musician is a platform where you can easily learn how to play guitar, bass, and even ukulele. So let's welcome to the stage Chris Thur.
Are we good? All right. Can you hear me? This doesn't work. Does it? Now it does. Okay, so while Andrew is still installing this thing, my name is Chris. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Musician. We are the world's, now it works. We are the world's largest music educator. And we're going to show you, I want to talk about 3 things today. First, about the product, so what is actually Musician. We're going to demo you the thing. We have a guitar with us. So you see this, then I say a few things about the company. And since we are... Yeah, I can put the hood up. I think we're good. Good? And since we are neither a small nor a big company, but somewhere in between, I wanted to share some of the development processes and how we do software development at Musician, just for you to know, to compare, maybe to get some ideas and to understand what we do. I need at some point then my slides. All right, but while we're at it, so the story of Musician started when me and my co-founder Mikko met at the university about 6 years ago. Both of us were instrument dropouts. I wanted to learn to play the piano, but then in the beginning it was kind of, I didn't get anywhere, plus I had to learn all those, in my opinion, not very interesting classical pieces. Mikko wanted to learn to play the guitar and also didn't stick through, and we both quit. And we started researching this topic a bit. It turns out from all the people that start to play a musical instrument, about 85% of people quit in the first couple of weeks or months because they feel like they don't make any progress or they don't have any talent for it or some other reason. So while we are still setting up, how many of you play a musical instrument? Raise your hand. Okay, quite a lot. Oh, this side somehow. Okay, half of the guys with the Musician shirts on. How many of you tried once in your life or so to learn to play and then failed? Okay, so this is nothing to be embarrassed about. I think this happens quite a lot. And this is what we wanted to change with our company. So we wanted to make it easy, fun, and motivating for people to learn to play a musical instrument and to keep people hooked and addicted. And at that time, Guitar Hero was really big, and everyone was saying, why don't they make Guitar Hero for real guitar? So in a nutshell, that's what we did. And Andrew is already showing us the application. So Musician, you can download it for free for your desktop computers. You can download it for iOS or Android as well. And the really unique thing about it is you don't need any special instrument. So if you have an ukulele or a guitar, a piano, or a bass at home, it uses the built-in microphone of your device to listen to you play, and it can hear and it can give you feedback and move you forward. Okay, I will probably skip a lot, so this is what I wanted to talk about. These are the 85% who quit, and this is the introduction to let's have a quick demo. And for the demo, I would ask our software architect, Mathieu, to come on stage. Let's give him a hand. And I think the song he wanted was Storm. So you can see, so this is the software. Give me 1 second. So here you can see how the software looks. This is the learning path. So the first thing is lesson number 1. So you learn how to tune a guitar, how to play your first note. You get enough points. You unlock the next one. You can become a lead rhythm guitarist, or you can learn about music theory and stuff. And then that's how it goes. So level 1 is kind of the very basics. Level 2, you learn a bit harder things. And it scrolls all the way down. Level 0 for complete beginners. Level 15, the songs are so hard, even the best guitarists in the world can't play them. So that's the curriculum. And then on the song side, we have at the moment about almost 20,000 songs available for you, many made by us, but then also the user community has uploaded those. And I think the song we're going to play for you is called Storm Inside Me, Metal Rhythm. Here you can see level 10, so it's about 2/3 in. And let's hope everything else works. If you place the right note at the right time, they turn green. If you make a mistake, they turn red. By talking to it, they go red as well. And then you can also see, if you pay attention, every note it measures whether or not he plays in time, if he plays early or late. And then on the top right, you can see the high scores going up. So if you get all your notes green, you unlock the next level. If you get all the timings right, you can compete against the millions of users and try to beat their high score. Okay, and now it gets a bit harder, and just to switch over, there is a practicing mode. So if it's too difficult, I can actually slow down the tempo to 25%. And you can really, like, percentage by percentage improve your skills. You can set a looper to repeat the same section over. Okay, the song is a really bad position right now to slow it down. If you are really good at it, you can also go to 125%. Alright, so that's kind of... All right, let's give a hand for Matthew. Woo! All right, so I think that's the basic of the application. I said it's for 4 different instruments. If you want to plug it in, if you have a cable, you can plug it in. Otherwise, it uses the microphone. Obviously, it's not built for this kind of setup here, so you had a few interferences. But I think overall, you got the idea, so what it does. And there is, like 20,000 songs, so the idea of what we do is we really make it easy, step by step, harder and harder to get there. Okay, then a few metrics. So at the moment, we have about 8 million active users every month. Together, our users have played 250 million songs. And the individual notes that we just added, another couple of hundred probably today, 135 billion notes. So quite an impressive amount. The other number we use is that on average, every single second of the day, somebody around the world starts to learn to play an instrument with us, every single second. So by the time I'm done with this presentation, something around 5,000 or something like this. So a lot of people. Thank you. That's mostly the marketing, really. There's a lot of money spent there. Okay, Musician is a platform for 4 groups of people. The learners, which would have been me, but we don't have time to show you that part. The players, like Mathieu, who already know how to play and really want to test their skills. We have educators all around the world who use Musician to give homework for their students and to connect with them in between lessons to see if they have difficulties. And lastly, the creators. So there is a user-generated content area. If you are a musician, you can actually upload your songs. You can put the exercise over it. You can let your fans learn to play your own songs, and with that kind of become part of music history with the next generation learning. Then this one, for those of you who have an app, you probably recognize at least the visuals. This is screenshot from App Annie. So this is iPhone US top grossing education charts. So as you can see, we launched it about 2 years ago. And in the beginning, we're still trying out a few things, but since then, we have been just nicely stuck up there, somewhere in the top 5 top grossing. So just what Supercell has for Clash of Clans, we have for, in the games category, we have for Musician in the educations category. So Finland, in that sense, owns now games and the educations category on the App Store pretty much throughout the world. So that's kind of a big backdrop. I have to speak fast. About the company, I will really just jump this, because those of you who come to Slush, I will actually, we have been the winner of Slush 100 competition exactly 5 years ago. I was wearing a funny crocodile hat, and I was already carrying guitar then. If you want to know more about the company history, then visit us. I think it's on Wednesday around 3:30 on the main stage. We will talk about what happened in the 5 years since we won Slush 100. What has not changed since then is our mission. We believe musicality can and should be as common as literacy, meaning not everyone is going to be a musician, but everyone should be able to play the basics and jam with their friends at a housewarming party or something like this. The values we have is we're all born musical. There is no such thing as I'm not musical. Some people are more talented than others, but one of the product managers we hired said to me, Chris, I'm the least musical person you'll ever hire to musician. And 1.5 years later now, he plays the guitar, and he just wrote his first song that was uploaded to Musician. So he says, well, love at first note, the idea that learning to play an instrument is not boring and tedious for the first couple of months or years, and then once you can play, it's fun. It should be like soccer, the very first ball you kick, the very first note you play is going to be fun. And lastly, creativity is diverse. We are not like a book that just goes step by step through, but we actually adapt the curriculum. If you have preferences, musical tastes, if you have difficulties or you're really fast in some things, we let you actually figure out your own path. And if you want to write songs and things like this, we're going to help you with that as well. And best of Finland, so quickly, I think Musician is nice from Finland because I'm not Finnish, so I can say this without the cultural bias, but Finland is very strong with games, very strong with audio technology, still from the Nokia days, very strong with education, and then the startup hunger, what we see here, and also music, at least if you are like me and many of the other developers, or not that I'm a developer, but developers who like heavy metal music, so Finland is extremely strong in this, and that's why we think it's coming from here. All right, one last thing to mention about the company. So as you have all seen today and yesterday outside, the weather is quite miserable. So what we do as a company is we take our entire team for 1 month off-site. 2 years ago, we went to Greece. So we took the entire team, instruments, laptops, everything, rented a big villa in Greece. And we were about 30 people at the time and just spent the entire November in Greece, enjoying the sun while people are here wading through the slush. Last year, and that's where this picture was taken, we went to Thailand with the whole team. Some took their spouses and families with them, again, an entire month. And that's what we do just because we can, and the instruments and the work equipment is actually mobile. So we do this. This picture is a year old, so today we are 53 people. We are from 17 nationalities, and around 50% are developers. And since I assume most of you are developers, I'm going to spend the last 4 minutes talking a few things about how we do development at Musician. I'm not a developer myself, so I'm probably the least qualified to talk about this, but I give you the upper level idea behind what we want to do here. So first of all, that's not just the developers, but in general, we believe in SEE teams, so small, efficient, and empowered. Small meaning no more than 7 people. Usually it's more like 3 or 4 people per team. Efficient meaning that on a day-to-day basis, what you need to do, your team, one of the team members can do it. So you are very independent from the other teams. Again, if you know the Supercell story, it's the same idea. You can be really efficient if one of you can actually do the thing. So if you need a lot of backend, you probably have a backend person in your team. If you need visuals, you have a visuals person in your team, and so on. And empowered, meaning that we have one top goal for every team, and the product manager and whoever else is there, as long as that top goal is not changing much, there is not much need to ask approval or something like this from the management. The team run the show. So, and that's how we can believe it can be efficient. Currently, we have 7 teams with developers who deploy to the same code base, and we have release trains leaving every 2 weeks. And what that means is we had to become, I don't know, I right now here, a professional software company. So at some point, it doesn't work anymore that people just hack things together. And I will ask first this question: how many of you know this Joel test or Joel test? Let's see some hands. 4, 5. So if I understand it correctly, the Joel test is what a developer should do to ask from the company, meaning is this a legit software company? So there's 12 questions. Do you use source control? Can you make a build in one step? Are there daily builds? Is there a bug database? And all these questions, and as far as I know, we have all of them 12 covered, so we are not a small hack team. We are not a big company that is slow, but we are somewhere in between. You use the professional tools. We have a really efficient processes to get the work done. Yeah, so that's, I think, this. Everything you build will face users. That's one of the things. Sure, there is some exceptions, but typically what happens in a big software firm, you work for a couple of years, and then someone in the management decides, okay, probably we cancel this project, and we move on. Or we build a game, and then the first tests are like, yeah, not good, so we kill the game. We don't do it like this. In Musician, it's quite, almost everything that you build is actually going to be used, hopefully within these 2 weeks, tact pace, by some users. So that's the idea. We actually test with the users directly. And it can be that you start, your first day at Musician is the beginning of the sprint. 2 weeks later, whatever you have built is already available for millions of users. So then do we just build whatever? We have a very systematic way to look into what do we build. We use this ICE model. That means anyone, the users, the developers, the office manager, the HR manager, anyone can bring ideas. The product manager is rated with this I score, I meaning impact, how many users are being impacted by this, and how big the impact is. Is it a massive change or a minor change? Confidence is, have we done something like this before? How sure are we this experiment is going to work? And ease is, how hard is it to build this thing? And then you get a ratio, or you get a number, and the highest number usually gets implemented first. If your ideas never go in, then you can think, okay, is the impact or confidence or ease not optimal? So that's, then what we do is we have hack days once a month. You can do whatever you want. The arcade box that many of you have hopefully seen by now, the guitar thing out there, was built during a hack day. We have demo days, and we have developer Thursdays where the developers share their best knowledge and experience or just field of interest with each other. So there is kind of constant improvement. And then I think I have 20 seconds left. Work hard, play hard. We do a lot of things together. Obviously, we have a lot of jam sessions at the office, but we also do a lot of sports, those trips that we have. And particularly the developers really like these board games, so we have quite often board game nights and things like this at the office. And I think that's it. That is timing.
You were on time. Thank you very much. And next up, we will have MLJ meetup here. So please introduce yourselves, because I didn't get any info. What is this actually?
Yes, come here. I don't need a microphone. Can anybody hear me? I can't hear you. I just had ear surgery this week.
Do you want my mic?
I'm with the organizer of Junction. Derek contacted me on Slack that we can have this hackathon organizer meetup here. So we're going to be talking a bit about what is hosting a hackathon. Do you have a slide? I'm kind of like free-form meetup style. So come closer. You guys are back. Come closer. Everybody's interested. Come take front seats. There's still super comfortable, especially here. Good question. Who's starting? Who's done a hackathon before? To organize a hackathon? Like who's a hackathon organizer?
Cool. Hello? Hello? Okay. There's nothing else.